Is telling lies to defend the lies that a dead person told in their lifetime the right thing to do, or is it better to just tell the truth? That's what we're dealing with in our first story today. G'day there guys, it's your main man Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the Arsehole with updates. Now if you love today's story, sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, and enjoy. Thank you. Am I the arsehole for telling my daughter the truth about why I wasn't in her life? To start, my ex and I were 19 when she got pregnant. We had recently broken up, and she found out a couple weeks later that she was pregnant. She said she planned to get an abortion, but only wanted her sister there. So I was always under the belief that she had aborted. She only contacted me once, saying that it was done, and we didn't speak again. Fast forward 19 years later, I found out a month ago that that was a lie. My ex passed away 3 years ago, and my daughter Kara has been living with her uncle. He was the one to reach out to give me a heads up after she expressed an interest in wanting us to connect. He and I spoke at length because I was feeling some pretty strong emotions, like rage, for never being told about her. My ex had backed out of the abortion, but didn't want me involved because we were broken up, so decided just not to tell me. But he told me that Kara doesn't know about that. Apparently I wasn't ready for fatherhood because we were both young, so I bailed. I couldn't believe it. Rob, her uncle, told me he knows his sister was wrong for that, but promised Kara doesn't have any negative feelings towards me, and my ex never painted me as some villain. Just a young guy who knew he couldn't properly care for her. He asked me not to tell Kara this when we talk if she asks, and because it could hurt the way that she saw her mom. I never actually confirmed I would. Kara messaged me and we've been talking. I've met her twice and it's been crazy emotional. Looking at this girl who looks just like me and hurting that we're just barely getting to know each other. So far our conversations have only been about what her life was like, how my life is, what her wants and future goals are, and getting to know each other. We met again Tuesday, and she finally decided to ask the obvious questions about what made me not be involved. How did I feel? What went through my mind? Did I ever think about her? Etc. I had been thinking about what to do, but in that moment, I just didn't have it in me to lie, so I was honest. That I was told about the abortion, had no idea that she even existed until now, but that I still really want to be in her life and have the chance to be her father if she wants that. Kara was a bit emotional, we talked some more, and said that she still wants me involved. That night, my messages were blowing up. Not just from Rob, but her grandparents as well. They are all outraged for telling Kara about her mum because she yelled at all of them and is refusing to even take their calls. Yes, the lie was terrible, but I just ruined the image she had of her late mother for my own benefit. Rob called me a selfish dick for not taking it into consideration how this would affect Kara finding out about this. So right now I feel like crap. I get honesty is the best policy, but in this case, I don't know if I was an asshole for doing it. I'm still learning this whole dad business, so don't know if I dropped the ball here. In all honesty, it is not healthy for that lie to continue any further. From my point of view, the lie paints OP in a bad light, in that he knew she existed, but he just didn't want to contact her, he didn't think of her that entire time. I'm not so sure how well Kara feels about the ex never painted me as some villain, just a young guy who knew he couldn't properly care for her. In all honesty, I believe that Rob, the uncle, is lying there, and it's really doing Kara no justice to continue lies around her. By telling the truth, OP is showing that he can be trusted, that he genuinely had no idea, and that the family continues to lie to her and doesn't want her to know the truth about her situation. To me, that's wrong, and I'm gonna say not the asshole for telling the truth, OP. You did a good job. Now in the comments, AMSLove123 says, not the asshole. Your ex lied, your ex created this mess. I'm sorry she's passed, but she did this. You have no obligation to continue a lie that you had no part of. Your daughter deserved the truth. Exactly. OP, you were the victim of someone else's long-term lie. Your daughter's uncle tried to coerce you to continue a lie that would only serve to hurt you in favor of your daughter's mother. That is not fair to you. My advice is to keep your head down, avoid responding or stirring up more drama, and this too shall pass. Then you can continue building your own relationship with your daughter on your own terms, not the arsehole. Sounds like Uncle Rob is upset that OP didn't think about how hard this would affect them. If they cared about Kara, they would have told her the truth when she expressed an interest in meeting him. It's unrealistic to expect a stranger to continue a lie which defames himself in order to protect the image of a liar. Yeah, poor Kara. Imagine losing a parent and thinking the other one wants nothing to do with you, only to find out they were never told about your existence. Absolutely heartbreaking. I can't imagine going through your whole life not having a dad, only to find out that you could have had one all along if your other parent hadn't lied about it. That thought just hurts my heart. And someone replies to that, my wife was 20 when she finally discovered the truth about her parentage. She'd been told her whole life that her biological father was her deadbeat stepfather who'd abandoned her when she was a kid. Lo and behold, her mother passed away and she left a note saying who my wife's real father was. A highly successful lawyer who was never told about the pregnancy and was overjoyed when he found out. He came to our wedding and goes out of his way to visit us, but both him and my wife hate that they had literally 2 decades of missed time. It really does suck when it happens. Gruntled Organizer says, you said fast forward 19 years later. So your daughter is 19 now. She's an adult and deserves to know the truth. You should not be expected to make yourself out to be a deadbeat dad just to avoid tainting the memory of her mother. Not the arsehole. 19 years of this girl thinking her father didn't want to be her dad when her mother was the one who robbed her of the chance for OP to be involved in her life. Dying doesn't erase the actions of one's life. OP shouldn't have to hide the truth that tells his daughter that he didn't not care about her, he didn't know about her. And now on to the update. So I made this post a couple months back and I wanted to share what's been going on. This was a really big mess, and thank you for all of your reassurance, for telling me that Kara deserved to know the truth. There was still some guilt I carried with me for days until she called me again, now that she had time to process. Kara thanked me for being honest about what happened, and we had a deep conversation about what she's going through. She and her mum always had a very strained relationship, even until she passed away. So there was still a lot of anger and resentment that she never got to have closure for. Now learning this new lie that her mum told her about me, well, it opened a lot of other mixed feelings. She has been in therapy even before her mother died to deal with her issues, so Kara is working this out with someone, which I'm happy to know. Many of you were suggesting therapy for her, so at least she already had that down. My daughter is still mad at her family. She talked to them a couple times before stopping communication. Kara knows she'll forgive them eventually, but for right now, she says she wants them to live with the consequences, so hasn't had any contact with them. I did express my concern over her shutting them out, but she says it's not forever. She's still trying to process this betrayal and get to a place where she'll accept them back into her life. At the moment, she's still living with her friend and wants to keep things that way. So far, has declined any financial help I offer. She wants to work out her anger and let them sit with this for a while. I had to do some blocking still for my own peace of mind. Things are a work in progress, but I'm happy to report that we're getting along fine. Kara's been over so many times and has met my fiancé. We are learning so much about each other, even if sometimes it's hard not to get emotional over childhood memories she talks about, knowing I couldn't be there for them. Still in the process of finding a therapist myself, because this has been pretty heavy on me too, and I still have no idea what the hell I'm doing as a parent. Thanks for your words of encouragement and all of the advice from fellow parents. I kept getting asked for an update on this, so sorry I took a while to remember to post something. Now in the comments, quote, still have no idea what I'm doing as a parent. Same buddy, same. I don't think any parent knows. Just go with the role. I think OP should also have a conversation with Kara about what she wants his role to be as her father. Not that I think he would, but if he goes in thinking, oh, now I'm a dad, I have to give her advice and guidance, it might not be well taken. She doesn't have a foundational relationship with him yet, and she's a grown adult. I get mad enough when my mum tries to mum me, and she's been in my life the whole time. This so much. I didn't really know my dad until I was 20. Different circumstance though, my dad took a while to get sober. So I was about OP's daughter's age when I really started talking to my dad. And honestly, as much as it sucks that he wasn't there when I was younger, the relationship we have now is very special and unique. He could never treat me like I'm still a kid since he had never really dealt with me as a kid. So my dad never tries to parent me, he only tries to help. Which I appreciate over my mum who can be difficult to please. Not that I love him more than my mum. Queen's Tower says, OP, I just wanted to share my experience with you. I found out about my biological father's existence when I was 19. It was a whirlwind. My mother is still alive, but had told me that my crappy stepfather was my bio dad my entire life. A family friend finally told me the truth, and I'm forever grateful, because I am certain my very toxic mother would never have admitted it to me on her own. Fast forward 9 years. I'm living in the same metro area as my real dad. I see him at least once a week for lunch. He's really close to my husband and a doting grandfather to my children. Things are really good. It's sad that we didn't get that time together when I was growing up. We are so much alike, but I feel like we've more than made up for it in recent years. Best of luck to you and your daughter. And OP replies, thank you for sharing. I'm so glad you and your father have such a wonderful relationship. Gives me so much hope for the future. All the best to you and your family. Sounds like you're all rich in love. Our next post is titled, Am I the arsehole for refusing to cook for my stepchildren anymore? They are 16 female and 15 male. My husband and I have been married for 8 years. They have been living with their mum for a month because we caught the virus. Fortunately, they were with their mum and didn't catch it. Normally, we split custody. Ever since they've returned home, they have been very critical of my cooking. My husband and I usually split chores. He makes the dinner and I make breakfast and lunch. This works for us as my work starts later in the morning while his shift ends earlier in the evening. I try to make them healthy food and spend time with them, but they have been nothing but critical. They make faces, make fun of the dishes I cooked, and compare them to their mum's cooking in a manner which is really hurtful. They have been talked to, and their father has even punished them. They just don't seem to care. My husband seems to think that my cooking is fine. Hell, they didn't seem to mind my cooking when he heated it up last week. So I stopped cooking for them. They know how to cook. I had taught both of them how to handle themselves around the kitchen last year, and they had no problem before this. I'm worried that they are lashing out over something hurtful I did. Teenagers are not known for their emotional maturity, and I fear this will further alienate them. But at the same time, my mental health has improved, and I do not dread mornings anymore. I still make them lunch, but I don't have to hear them talk smack about my cooking due to my schedule. My husband wants me to be the adult here, and he promises to deal with them. He thinks that if I start cooking again, they will calm down. The children are giving me the cold shoulder, and it hurts, but I want to teach them that they have to respect the people in their lives, even if they dislike them. They talked to their mum about it, and she ranted at me and called me names. My husband is making them breakfast now. They don't seem to mind that change. I had my peace with them not considering me family. I don't expect them to make me a Mother's Day card or call me mum. I never expected that. That would be amazing, but I know it's not going to happen. I'm okay with that. However, I just want them to treat me with respect. I understand that I am an adult in their lives who cares for them and loves them. They treat me like a servant who also pays for stuff. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. I feel like I'm abandoning my duties as a parental figure and I'm proving them right, and I feel this is going to appear that I don't care for them. Now in the comments, Kalkiki says, quote, they talked to their mum about it and she ranted at me and called me names. This is why they're treating you poorly. Your husband needs to have a sit down with his ex about bad-mouthing you to the kids. In my honest opinion, you're doing the correct thing. These are not young children, these are teenagers, and they damn sure know what they are doing. You don't need to put up with this treatment just because they're kids. They are rude, and their words and actions affect other people. Not the asshole. This, especially suspicious since things seem to have started up after they spent some time at their mum's. Makes me wonder what might have been said while they were over there, especially since, if I'm reading your post correctly, everything seemed fine for 8 years. I doubt their mum was pulling out a full 4-course breakfast for them every day, and even if she was, they can't realistically expect someone else to do the same, so something is up. Not the asshole, you said they know how to cook, and if all else fails, they can always go for cereal or a sandwich. They won't starve. And you shouldn't have to put up with their criticism. Wait, people cook breakfast for their kids? Mine are 10, 9, and 7 and make their own breakfast. Waffles, cereal, whatever, and have for a while. Time for these kids to get a reality check and do some growing up. Not the asshole. Oh my god, they're 15 and 16 and someone else cooks them breakfast and makes their lunches? You and your husband are teaching them to remain children instead of becoming adults. It's great that you taught them their way around the kitchen, and no one should be making them breakfast except themselves, especially with their entitled attitude. They are acting like toddlers, and your husband is enabling them. You are not the asshole for setting and maintaining healthy boundaries. And now on to the update. I made my post I think 2 weeks ago, and a lot has happened. I realized that I was not an asshole for not cooking for them. I continued to not cook for them, and they continued to ignore me. It was hurtful, but I was getting used to it. I talked to my husband about enforcing rules and talking to their mother to ensure that we can solve this issue, but he's reluctant to start drama because he's afraid of going back to the court and having to change the custody agreement. However, all this took a backseat. My father received a very bad diagnosis. It's pretty bad. It sent me into a very bad place, and I was just getting by on autopilot for a week. My stepdaughter walked in on me crying in my room. I think she was looking for her dad. She sat next to me and apologized. She teared up a little and told me that she's scared that I will force my dad to move them permanently to their mothers. That made me cry harder. I told her that even though we may not get on all the time, I always missed them when they were at their mothers, and the house would feel empty without them here. After this conversation, things are better now. I won't say we're doing fine all the time, but we are doing much better than before. The people who guessed that their mother put them up to it were correct. After a bit more talking to my stepchildren, what I realized was that something we did really hurt them. My stepdaughter told me that we didn't call them when we were sick with the virus, but we did. In fact, we were frustrated that they didn't pick up, but we chalked it up to their mother's very strict screen time policy, where the phones are under her care and not with them, and them being busy with classes. We just resorted to texting them. My hypothesis is that their mother knew the passcodes, and she was deleting our missed calls when the phone was with her, and then using our lack of calls to drive a wedge between us. I have not told anyone about this theory, but it seems like a good theory. I have let this thing slide for now, as I'm more focused on helping my father with his treatment. I really want to thank everyone who commented. I know this is not a happy update, but I wanted to let people know what happened. Now in the comments, JMags9020 says, "Wow, I'm so sorry for you and your dad, but happy you seem to be on track with the stepkids. Their mother seems to be playing quite a role in this. It's really screwed up. I get so depressed when I read about all the crappy parents out there who use their kids as a weapon. Then you grow up and realize that almost everything you did or felt was manipulated by either parent trying to get back at each other and win. Like how my stepmom told me my ADHD diagnosis was just because my mum couldn't handle me, only for me to find out 8 years after leaving their care that I still have ADHD and should have been medicated the whole time. Damn, me too. It sucks being denied medication and dealing with people who dismiss it. It's like, who knows what you could have done and how different you would have grown up if you were allowed it. My grades went from failing to A's. It helped me with my almost non-existent executive functioning. I can even get up in the morning and not fall asleep all day everywhere. It's crazy. Further down, Nomad says, quote, that text messages part, show SD the missed calls and messages from your phones. That should convince her that both of you did try to contact them. And contact a lawyer and take X back to court. This is straight up parental alienation. Opie, talk to your husband first, but I have an idea. Show your kids your call records and texts that you sent when they were at their mum's. They are teens. They are tech-savvy enough to understand the timestamps and deletions. Tell them you are concerned they didn't get any calls or messages because you want to make sure they have reliable communication with you and their dad. If your theory is true, the kids will put 2 and 2 together and understand who is really the problem. If that's the case, it may be worth talking to a lawyer and revisiting custody. Besides the whole parental alienation thing, interfering with communication with a custodial parent is dangerous and not in the best interest of the kids. I'm sorry to hear about your dad, and I hope you're able to spend as much time with him and the kids as possible. This is a really good idea. Opie, I understand you don't want to add any fuel to the drama and your husband's worries, but I think the kids do need to understand what their mother is capable of. I'm sorry about your dad, Opie, and I hope it gets better for you both. Anyway guys, I think that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you did like it, tell me what you thought about it down in the comments below, and make sure to just interact with everyone in this community. I love each and every one of you that I get to see on a daily basis. And don't forget, if you are a Patreon subscriber, I love you. You're on the screen right now with the YouTube members as well. If you see yourself, give yourself a pat in the back. You guys help me continue this YouTube journey. You keep me going. I see you guys everywhere. I see your messages, and thank you so much for supporting me. I really love every single one of you. But with that all said, I'm going to be signing off now, guys. I hope you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.